hope they're all having a wonderful day. I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I actually became a first-time plant mom. If you follow me on Instagram, like, you would know that I've been going crazy buying new plants and just like adopting new plants, taking plants from my mom's backyard, all that good stuff. But here on YouTube, I've actually haven't shared that side of my life as much as I want to. So in this video, you will find my best indoor houseplant for you as a beginner plant mom, and I'm also going to teach you some plant care tips and advice for you as a beginner as well. I'm also going to be showing you guys some natural and organic plant fertilizers, teaching you how I personally stay organized and keep myself in a watering schedule. I'll be sharing specific like physical tools that I use to give my plants the best environment they can grow in. Plants have really just made my life so much happier, more content. I also feel more inspired, and I also feel more calm, relaxed, and at peace. Some plants actually purify the air by removing airborne dust particles and also removing pollutants. So that's basically one of the main reasons why I love my plants, because it just makes me feel like peace of mind that they're actually like working to just like better my quality of life, etc. And also just because of all the reasons that I just mentioned, that they just like make me happy and are so very much beautiful. So now let's just dive into my best indoor houseplant recommendations. And the first one that I want to share with you guys is perhaps one of my favorites. Well, all of them are my favorites, but this one is like at the top, and it is just the Swiss cheese plant, or better known as the Monstera deliciosa. I actually have two of them. I'm definitely going to show you guys the clip of the other large one that I have, but first I just wanted to show you guys this little guy right here. I've had it since it was a baby, and I just love it so much. It's like so full of light, so full of happiness, and as you can probably tell, like a lot of leaves are going out. She is thriving and we love her. So I actually wrote down a few things that you need to know about the Monstera. It needs bright to medium indirect light. It will enjoy large amounts of dapple sunlight, but make sure that it never is in direct sunlight, because the direct sunlight can burn the leaves. You should water once a week, but in the winter months you should definitely roll it out to watering once every 2 weeks. And also every time that I water it, I make sure that I check that the soil is mostly dry, like at least the first 2 inches of the soil is dry, because I do not want to overwater this plant, as the roots may rot, and we don't want that. This plant is kind of very expensive, and you know, I want to treat it my best. And one thing that you can actually do as well, just like make it more happier, is misting the leaves, so it can increase the humidity around the plant and it could thrive, because this plant is a tropical plant and therefore like it needs humidity to be happy and just its best self. So the next plant that I want to share with you guys is the pothos plant, and I have such a huge pothos on my kitchen. I'm going to be inserting some clips of her right here. It is also one of my favorites just because it's so big and huge, and it just gives like that character into your house or into your apartment that I don't think like a lot of houses have. So I really like it. It's also very easy to take care of. That pothos is just like the normal pothos, but this one is just a neon pothos, and as you can probably see from the difference of the last clip to this plant that I'm holding right now, this plant is kind of like a neon color. So either of the pothos that you have, most of them do tolerate low light conditions, but it's better if you have them taking bright indirect light. But once again, it can tolerate low light conditions, which is great. If your house or apartment like doesn't get that much light, I think that the pothos is also like the very best one for you. And personally, I water my pothos every once a week, and I also let the soil dry in between waterings because this plant really dislikes soggy roots. And one really fun fact about this plant is that if you notice that the leaves start to droop, like it gets very sad, it doesn't mean that it's like dying, it just means that it needs a little bit more water. So do not worry about that. Another pro tip that I have to take care of these super cute and amazing pothos plant is that if you notice that the leaves are getting pale, it definitely means that it's getting more sunlight than it needs to. But if you're seeing that it's losing its variegation, it means that it's getting a very little sun, so you need to increase that. The next plant that I want to share with you guys is just this very beautiful philodendron plant. I love it so much. I just really love how it's like kind of like overflowing through the pot. It's just getting like super huge on the sides, and I just feel like this one is definitely going to turn into like the pothos plant that I have in my kitchen. So I cannot wait for that to happen because I just love like very big plants like that, and that just like take over your house and makes it feel like you're in a jungle. So this plant really needs medium indirect light, but make sure that it doesn't receive like direct sunlight at all as well, and it can also tolerate low light conditions. Just like the pothos as well, I water these every once a week and just check if the soil is dry. Okay, so the next indoor house plant that I have is basically like the best house plant you can get if you are like a person that may forget to water their plants, or if you're looking for a very top-notch beginner plant that you won't let die. I definitely recommend the one that I'm going to show you right now. It is just the snake plant. And you guys, this is my snake plant, and I actually got this from my mom. She has like so many, like she has like a pot full of like a bunch of these snake plants, and I just like took out some of the cuttings and just like planted them here. And as you can probably tell, like it has grown a little baby there as well, so it's getting like really big, and it's also getting so beautiful, and it reminds me of home, which is just like such an emotional thing, which I love it so much. So when it comes to the snake plant, it needs bright to medium indirect light, but it can also tolerate low light conditions as well. And in terms of the watering requirements for the snake plant, I usually water it every 2 to 3 weeks, allowing the soil to dry in between waterings as well. If your snake plant is getting much light, then you can definitely increase those waterings as well. But that's it for the snake plant. It's just like a very simple, like top-notch amazing house plant if you are a beginner, and it will not disappoint you, as well as I really love it because this house plant is actually on the list of NASA plants. Like NASA made a list a couple of years ago, maybe. They basically just made a list of all the house plants that are good for the environment in your house, meaning that they are like air purifiers and pollutants removers and all that stuff, and the snake plant was on that list, which is amazing. I also forgot to mention that the pothos plant is actually as well on the NASA's plant list that are air purifiers. So the next plant that I want to share with you guys is the rubber plant, and this rubber plant needs bright indirect light that isn't too hot, and you can keep your rubber plant near a window with a sheer curtain to just give it the right amount of sunlight. In terms of the water, it requires more water during their growing season in the summer, and you should keep the soil moist but not drowning. In their dormant seasons in the winter, water once every 2 weeks, and you can keep the soil dry but not too dry. And then make sure that the top few inches of the soil dry in between waterings because you do not want to overwater that plant. And a little pro tip that I have for you guys for this plant is that if you notice that your rubber plant leaves are turning brown, are turning soggy, or are even falling down, then that means that you need to slightly increase the watering session. And another pro tip that I have for you guys is that you should also make sure to wipe the plants its leaf with just like a damp cloth and just like mist the plant as well, just for it to get a little bit more moisture from the air around it and just like better absorb all that light and all that water. So the next plant that I want to share with you guys is just a plant that people call eternity plant, but they also call it ZZZ plant. And this is just the plant that we just mentioned. Like, she is here, she has arrived, and you guys, I'm pretty sure that you have seen this plant like all over the mall. Like, I know I've seen it like all over the mall, and because your leaves are like so sturdy and shiny, like it can get confusing and you may think that it's a plastic plant when in reality it is not. But this is just like the plant that I also really like. This is actually Christian's favorite. It really grows super duper fast. You can place it in a medium / low light conditions, but if you really want it to thrive, it does need a little bit of bright light but avoiding direct sun. So you can basically put this plant anywhere. It tolerates low light, and it can also thrive in bright light but avoiding direct sun. And this plant I personally water every 2 to 3 weeks, allowing the soil to dry between waterings. And you should also increase watering if it is placed in a place that receives a lot of bright light. But I also recommend this eternity / ZZ plant as well, and I have had it for a long while. And the newest leaf, you guys, like, can you really guess what the new leaf is? Because I'm sure that you cannot. Can you believe me when I say that the new leaf has actually been this one? So it's like the largest one of them yet, and it is a new leaf. Can you believe that? And it grows so very much fast, and it's basically one of my favorites. The next plant that I want to show you guys is the plant that has been with me since the beginning of this video, and it's just this one right here. This is just perhaps my favorite plant ever. I just feel it is so beautiful and gorgeous, and I just absolutely love it. And this one is called the fiddle leaf fig, and as you can probably tell, it grows like a lot, and it is very tall, and it's just like one of those big plants that you walk into a house or you walk into an apartment and you just see and you're like, whoa, like, is that a real plant? Because it's thriving, and I don't even know if it's real, if it's plastic or not, but it is definitely real, and I just love it so much. But if you want to see like a mini version of it, I also have one right here that I've been growing since it had 2 leaves, and right now it has like 8 leaves. But this is just a cute little fiddle leaf fig that I have, and you can clearly see like a new leaf growing, and it also has like a lot of other leaves that are growing like very small as well, and I just absolutely love it so much. It's basically, I think that I will say like this is truly my best plant. It needs bright indirect sunlight and no direct sunlight. In terms of the water, it needs regular but moderate watering during the summer, ideally once a week, and during the winter, decrease watering to once every 2 weeks, and also allow topsoil to be dry. And also a little advice that I have is that you should definitely be misting this plant every single week. So now to the section of this video that I really wanted to like talk to you guys about. Is just the plant care tips section, and I'm pretty sure that you've all been waiting for this part as well, so let's just dive right into it. You should definitely wipe down your plants, the leaves of the plants, with a damp cloth so it can better absorb the sunlight as well. And I think this is like one of the biggest reasons that people say that you need to do that is because like plants like this one, or just like plants in general, like they get dusty, to be honest, just like a box will if you leave it like around the house. Like everything around the house or around the apartment will get dusty. So I feel that if you water your plants like every week, you should definitely go ahead and wipe the leaves as well. So I just love taking like a damp cloth and just like wiping down the leaf on the top and on the bottom, and my plants are just like left very happy and thriving and without any dust particles. My next little advice is related to just like organizing yourself and having a schedule. I personally write down on my Google Calendar like every single week or every 2 weeks, depending on the plant that I need to water, like just reminding myself that I need to water it. So for example, like every single week on Mondays, I have on my Google Calendar water and mist and wipe my monstera plant, my photos plant, my philodendron plant, my rubber plant, my fiddle leaf fig, and just like a whole list of plants that I have in my apartment that I need to water every single week. And then every 2 weeks I also have like a little reminder on my Google Calendar that I need to water my ZZ plant, that I need to water my string of pearls plant, which I didn't mention in this video, but I will be doing like a plant tour soon, which you'll be seeing like all the plants that I have. And then what I usually do is that every time that I do that, I take that little like a reminder and just like move it on my Google Calendar to the next like week. And once I am finished with that, I'll just like move that little reminder to the next week, and I'll just keep doing that week after week or every 2 weeks, so I never forget to water my plants. With this being said, it is very important that when the watering day comes, you use a device called a moisture meter, and I'll be linking my exact moisture meter in my Amazon storefront, which is linked in my description box, so you can just like get the one that I have. And the reason why you need a moisture meter like this one is because every single plant is different and every single week will be different. Some weeks, I don't know, my monstera will be more thirsty, and then the other week it will be like very moist. So like, because I don't want to overwater it, then I will just like skip it for that week, or I will just like put a little bit more water or a little bit less water than I usually do. But I determined that using a moisture meter, which is this one right here, and you use it by literally just pressing it. I think I'm going to show you guys like right now with this plant. You basically use a moisture meter by just like pressing it onto the soil of your plants, and once you do that, it will basically just tell you whether the soil is moist, whether it needs more water, it doesn't need more water. And the way you will know this is that you will see that if it is in the perfect conditions, then the moist meter will be in the middle, in the green area. If it is dry, it will be on the red area, and that means that you need to put a little bit more water into your plant. And then if it is in the blue area, then it means that you shouldn't water that plant specifically that day, or like wait a little bit more because you don't want to overwater it because it already has some water like stored. So the next little tip that I have for you guys is fertilizers, and I personally am not a fan of like chemical fertilizers. I just personally want to keep my organic, like natural living plants getting the organic and natural nourishment. So I have 4 fertilizers that I want to share with you guys, and the 4 of them are organic. And the first one is the coffee ground fertilizers, and I personally haven't used this one, but I think that in the beginning of November, on November 1st, I will definitely be using this method. It is important to mention that I personally fertilize my plant at the beginning of each month, only once a month. So with the coffee grounds method, you need to dilute coffee grounds and water plants with that. So that's just like a simple little natural fertilizer that you can create. And then the one that I've actually like used is the one where I just like put all the banana peels that I have consumed for like a week or 2 weeks in a little container, and then I just fill it up a little bit with water. And what we'll do is just like make and create a natural compost, and then I just mix it up with the water that I will normally put into my plant, and then I will just like water my plant with that. And then the third little fertilizer idea that I have is to literally take the eggshells of the eggs that you eat or the eggs that you use for baking or whatever, and just like store it in a little Ziploc bag, and then you crush them with like a spoon or with just like something else. You guys know how to crush things. And then what I will do is just take those eggshells and sprinkle them all over my plant's soil. And then what I usually do is just like take that banana water, like I call it, and just like water my plants with that. And then the next fertilizer that I want to start using, and that I have it written down but I haven't used yet, is to use the water that you use to boil potatoes, to boil carrots, and just like let that cool, and then use that water to just like water your plants as you normally would. And then the last little tip that I have for you guys is to always try to stay educated and try to always like have that longing to know more and have more knowledge about the plant care world. I usually love doing this by just like reading blog posts, going onto Pinterest and reading that. And I also follow a bunch of like plant accounts on my Instagram, whether those are like accounts that sell plants and give tips such as Basil, Bloomscape, Chlorophylla, Piep. And then the last little resort that I have is just this, the little book of house plants and other greenery from Emma Sibley, and I actually ordered it from Urban Outfitters. I will definitely link it down below. But this book contains like most of the houseplants that you will find on like every single house or on Pinterest, and it will just like give you like some tips. It will also give you like the light and water requirements, any disclaimers that you may need to know about. It also gives you guys like a little bit of history over here of the plant, and it also just shows you like so many beautiful photographs of that plant, which I absolutely like love looking for. But anyways, you guys, I really hope that you all enjoyed this video. Please make sure to subscribe, because the next video that you will probably see in the upcoming weeks will be a indoor plant tour. I'm actually going to be diving into every single crevice of my apartment, and Christian is going to be filming me and just going to give you guys like a kind of like a Vogue style like indoor plant tour. So if you're interested in seeing that and every single plant that I own, I actually own 18 plants in my small apartment, so make sure to subscribe if you want to see that, and make sure that you turn on my post notifications so you don't miss it, and also make sure that you follow me on Instagram to stay tuned with my day-to-day life, and also just like check which other planty babies I have bought, because I always like show you guys all the plant babies that I purchase and that I order and stuff every time that they arrive. But that is it for this video. I really hope that y'all enjoy it, and I will see you on my next one. I love you, and bye.